In this quick tips video, I show you how to install and set up OpenXR with iRacing and explain why you should use it. And all from an older gamer's perspective. In a previous video, I touched on how to install and use OpenXR with iRacing, but I also received a number of requests to create a separate quick guide specifically for using OpenXR with iRacing. OpenXR is a VR standard that works with most headsets and offers optimized performance, which of course every sim racer wants.
I want it badly and I want it now.
I will admit though, the thought of adding complexity to my VR experience initially put me off, but it's not complicated to use, just a bit fiddly. And you do have to do a few simple things before you are up and running. But once you are up and running, you will experience better performance just using OpenXR in its default state. At its simplest level, you can access OpenXR simply by clicking on this option in the iRacing selection menu, and iRacing will do the rest, interfacing your headset with your PC using OpenXR. But to get the most from OpenXR, you need to install and set up the OpenXR toolkit. And this video will take you through how to do that and get racing as quick as possible. Install the OpenXR toolkit. The OpenXR toolkit can be found via a Google search. Make sure you are downloading the correct file and not some random ransomware file. And if you want to double check, the GitHub page also has a link to the OpenXR Discord server.
Stay safe.
Once you have downloaded and installed the toolkit, you should see a shortcut appear on your desktop called the OpenXR Toolkit Companion. This is just used to set up how you will interact with the OpenXR Toolkit. Double click on the companion shortcut to open this small app, and the only thing that you need to change here is which hotkeys you will use to access the toolkit menu while inside iRacing. By default, these are set to use the F keys at the top of the keyboard, which I always find awkward to locate whilst wearing my Quest 3, so I've changed these to the up, down, left and right arrow keys, accomplished by selecting each one from the drop-down menu. For me, Control plus down arrow will open the XR toolkit when in iRacing, and the arrows will then handle the navigation through the toolkit. The only thing you really need to do here is make sure the modifier is set to Control. Optionally, you can change this to Alt if you prefer. Otherwise, leave everything to the defaults, although note you can disable the OpenXR toolkit without uninstalling it by checking this box if you find it's giving your PC problems. Once you have the hotkeys set to your preferences, you can close this app and you probably won't ever need to use it again. But keep the shortcut handy just in case you ever do need to disable the OpenXR toolkit. Using the OpenXR toolkit. As you can't alter any of the OpenXR toolkit settings from the PC, you will need to put on your VR headset and connect it to the PC first. For the Quest 3, I'm doing this via a cable connection and using the Meta PC app. Once connected, I launch iRacing in the usual way, and I'm going to choose a test track just for simplicity. And then I will wait for the track to finish loading. Once it has loaded, I find it easier to get in the car before adjusting the settings, but you can also do it from the track view if you prefer. In the car, I press Control plus down arrow. This is the hotkey I set up earlier in the companion app, and this will open the OpenXR toolkit on the Performance tab. To get the most from your toolkit, navigate using your hotkeys to the menu tab on the far right and change Show Expert Settings to Yes. This gains you access to some really cool stuff. And then change menu timeout to none. I find this helpful as it stops the menu closing after a short amount of time. To exit the menu, I now need to head down to the exit menu at the bottom and press Control plus left arrow. Now you can use this toolkit to its full potential. There are many ways of doing this, so I will just take you through some of my settings, but treat this as your starting point, and I encourage you to experiment to find out what settings work best for you with your PC and your headset. Returning now to the Performance tab, I have this set with the overlay set to show FPS. iRacing does have its own FPS meter, so you may only want this on if you are experimenting with settings, but I like to see it and check on performance. Advanced overlay gives you more information, but then it starts to get cluttered. However, the overlay itself can be moved via the menu tab by altering the horizontal and vertical offset. Upscaling and sharpening I have set based on what I have read on the various forums as this being the best setting for my particular setup, which is the 4070 Super and the Quest 3. If you think it should be different, please comment below as I'm always keen to hear new advice on this subject. Below this is fixed foveated rendering, which creates a sort of masked area inside the headset, not showing areas outside of your center of view, thereby reducing the number of pixels the graphics card needs to render. You only need to consider this as an option if your computer is struggling to maintain a desired frame rate, or if you're on a tough track with lots of cars or racing in heavy rain. If you do need it, I recommend using a preset function, setting mode to performance and pattern to balanced. This is one of the least obtrusive versions of fixed foveated rendering, at least in my view, but if you need more from the feature, you can use a different preset or swap over to custom and set everything to your heart's content. Below that is turbo mode, which is an experimental setting that forces the sim engine to draw frames as fast as possible. It's something that a few people have had issues with, works fine for me, but be aware that when you do use it, the performance headroom meter in the Oculus debug tool will no longer function correctly. Also worth looking out for is this restart the VR session to apply changes message that sometimes appears at the bottom of the OpenXR toolkit. This just simply means what it says. You've altered something that requires you to restart your VR session before those changes will apply. Don't forget to do that if you see this message. The next tab of interest is Appearance, which allows you to globally alter the overall look of iRacing. I have this set to the preset Sunglasses Light, which takes the edge off the glare I sometimes see on track, but it doesn't always work well if the weather in iRacing is set to cloudy or if it's raining. You can also customize this further if you wish. Over on the Systems tab, you can also alter the color gains, which is popular amongst people who believe iRacing displays the color a little on the warm side. There are a lot more settings you can play with. Some are fun and some are probably less helpful, but if you stuff up the settings completely, you can reset the toolkit by returning to the Menus tab and selecting Restore to Defaults, which is at the very bottom of the list. Again, this is selected in my case by navigating to this setting and using Control plus left arrow. Conclusions. So it's as simple as that to get up and running with OpenXR and this toolkit. I have avoided going too deep into all of the OpenXR settings, as many of these settings, in my opinion, bring a subjective improvement to iRacing. And as I said earlier, you really do need to experiment yourself with these options in order to find the best result you can get for your system using OpenXR toolkit, both in terms of visual improvements and performance gains. And at least at this stage, you now have enough information to get you going with OpenXR and the toolkit and improve your iRacing VR experience. Have fun playing with it, and let me know in the comments what settings worked best for you and your setup. I hope you found this video helpful, and until the next one, race clean, and I'll see you on track. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe. Click the little bell icon if you want to be notified of any future videos.